What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 270. We have Francis Ngannou going against Cyril Gane. Cannot wait for this card. Cannot wait to watch it. Cannot wait to play some Draftkings, win some money. I was very close to getting a takedown last week. Believe it or not, all I needed was Royval to outscore Jake Collier. Can you believe that? So hopefully, this could be the week and win some money. The prizes this week are phenomenal and just really looking forward to it. I think the card's going to be great. Lots of finishes coming up. Just really looking forward to the card. Hopefully you guys are as well. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. That'd be much, much appreciated. If you have not yet, check out the website, dfsbythenumbers.com. There was an update to the optimizer as well. Sick update. If you want to check it out, let me know. But yeah, optimizer, the targets are already posted, the rankings are posted, the projections, the ownership projections, the articles coming out soon as well. Just lots of stuff on there, $10 a month, and almost 100 members on the website already. So yeah, really appreciate everybody that has signed up. I thought it would be like a slow growth, but no, I mean, you guys are killing it, signing up and there, supporting. I really do appreciate that a ton. But I say we get into it here, and we will start, as always, with the fight doesn't go to decision lines. And like I said, I think there's going to be a ton of finishes on this card. It's going to be a very exciting card. I think there's going to be very high scores as well. We will start with the first one. It is Jack Della Maddalena going against Pete Rodriguez. And this fight, I would not only be shocked if it didn't finish, but I would be shocked if this fight really went to the second round. I mean, these are two guys that, they get in and they get out. Pete Rodriguez, 4 fights in MMA. He has not won a fight that went, over a minute into the second round. He has an amateur career, I think it was like 11 fights, and he's won all of his wins, amateur and pro, all in the first round besides one, and the one that did go into the second round was 50 seconds in. Jack Della Maddalena, prior to his Contender Series win, all of his wins came before the third round. I mean, these guys are two finishers. These guys hit very, very hard. Obviously, we do see Jack Della Maddalena is a big favorite here, and that's because, he's probably the better fighter. He's more well-rounded, and he's fought the much better competition, whereas Pete Rodriguez, he has some of the most questionable competition you'd probably ever see. I mean, this guy's competition is probably worse than Jordan Wright's, but this guy hits hard, and it would not shock me if Pete Rodriguez pulled off an upset here, but I really like Jack Della Maddalena. I like the skill set, the power, the finishing ability, and I think he just has more ways to win. So I'm going to be very high on Jack Della Maddalena, but if you're looking for a pump play that's going to go out there and throw bombs in the first round, Pete Rodriguez is your guy. But regardless, this fight has a very good chance of finishing according to the odds, and I believe so as well. Second, we have Cyril Gane going against Francis Ngannou. So this is a weird one. Cyril Gane, I'm picking him to win. I really like this guy. He brings something to the table that most heavyweights don't. And that's a combination of a lot of things, and that's cardio, that's footwork, that's speed. He has some grappling chops. He has some wrestling as well. I mean, he's the full package here, and I think he's the better overall fighter than Francis Ngannou. With that said, sometimes it doesn't matter in the heavyweight division, especially. Who the better fighter is, whoever lands that big shot first, right? And Francis Ngannou is the hardest hitter in the heavyweight division. I guess what concerns me about this fight is, first of all, Cyril Gane's going to be very high owned. According to my ownership projections, he's going to be one of the highest owned fighters on the slate, and rightfully so. But my concern is this fight looks like kind of like the Rosenstruck fight, where Gane is fighting very smart, which he does. He has a great fight IQ. He's fighting really smart. He's sticking to the outside. He's avoiding danger. He's doing a lot of running away, which is smart, especially against a guy like Rosenstruck, a guy like Ngannou. That's what you want to do. And he kind of picks apart Ngannou en route to a decision. And he doesn't get a finish. He's not going to go for takedowns, you wouldn't think. Not going to get much control time, you wouldn't think. Maybe a little bit, but I'm not expecting a ton. I'm not expecting him to go out here and implement a wrestling of a game plan against Ngannou. So my concern is what happens if Gane, outpoints Ngannou to a decision. And it's likely. It could very well happen. And Gane, again, Gane's going to be very high owned. It is 5 rounds. He has 8,400, so I will have some Gane. I'm a little concerned on a fight night where I think there's going to be very high scores. If Gane does not finish Ngannou, will he be on the optimal lineup? So something to think about there. But I am picking Gane to win, but I'm actually more intrigued in Ngannou because you look at Ngannou, he's not won a fight that hit the third round. If he's going to win, it's going to be within the first 2 rounds. It's going to be by knockout. So he has, in my opinion, the higher ceiling, whereas Gane, he definitely 100% has the higher floor. So, I like Ngannou here in terms of a DraftKings play. You're saving $600 in salary, and there's not a ton of dogs that I like on this slate as well. But, I think both are definitely in play. But, yeah, if he does not finish Ngannou, I feel like he potentially could miss the optimal lineup. So we'll have to see, but I like both sides here. Other than that, we have Vieira Turman, minus 250. Fight doesn't go to decision. And yeah, actually wouldn't be shocked if this one saw the scorecards as well. Rodolfo Vieira, I think it all comes down to his game plan in this fight. If he comes out and he fights like he has in the past, going out there and trying to get Turman out in round one, obviously he has a very high ceiling if so. But if he comes in there and he fights like he did in the last fight against Stoltzfus, he shot 0 takedowns in the first round. He fought a lot smarter. He kind of managed his gas tank. I could see Rodolfo Vieira, missing out on the optimal lineup. I think for Vieira to hit that optimal, he's going to have to go out there and fight like he usually does and go out there and get a first-round sub. So yeah, for that reason, I got to have some Vieira. Of course, you cannot trust this guy's gas tank. It's horrendous. We've seen that multiple times, especially in the Fluffy Hernandez fight. So I think Turman's actually, kind of live in this fight if he can survive the early storm. And for that reason, I will have some Turman, but not like overly confident in it whatsoever. But I'm going to have some of this fight, minus 250. Fight doesn't go, I think it kind of got to, but it's a kind of a tricky one. Charles Jourdain, Ilia Topuria. I'm all over Topuria this week, 9,400, the most expensive, and rightfully so. It's just a bad matchup for Charles Jourdain. It was a 48% takedown defense. Minus 220, fight doesn't go to decision. I think this fight does finish. You take a look at Topuria, and Topuria has a 91% finish rate. Charles Jourdain has a 92% finish rate. I think Topuria honestly runs through Jourdain. Jourdain has a pump play. Makes some sense. Topuria, he's still a little bit unproven. And Jourdain's very dangerous. Again, Jourdain in his last fight against Andre Ewell, that was his very first decision win ever. Prior to that, he's going out there and finishing guys. So, I'm not going to completely fade Jourdain, nothing like that. I will have some Jourdain, but I'm just very heavy on Ilia Topuria this week. We'll get into our core plays, and we'll stick with Topuria here, 9,400. Not much more to say. I believe I have around like 60% Topuria, which makes him my highest own this week so far, as long as all the fights stay how they will after weigh-ins and all that. But yeah, Topuria, all over him. I think he has power on the feet to potentially hurt Jourdain, but I think the path to least resistance is taking this fight down to the mat and submitting Charles Jourdain, and honestly probably early. So give me Topuria. I like him a lot. Brandon Moreno, 8,500. So I'm going to have a lot of both sides in this fight, but Brandon Moreno, what I like about him the most is the fact that he's so durable. This is a guy in 5 professional losses. He's never been finished. He has, 27 professional fights, never been finished. I know he got finished in the Ultimate Fighter, but still, this is a guy that's very durable, submission defense on the point. So I think at the very least with Brandon Moreno, if this does go 5 rounds, which I'm kind of leaning towards it doing, I think he has a very safe floor. And on top of that, if Figgy, if he has a bad weight cut, which I haven't seen the weigh-ins yet, if he has a bad weight cut, if, the weight cut took something out of him like it did in the last fight, or if Figgy's just on a decline. I mean, Figgy's 34 years old at this point, so he very well could be at a decline, and it certainly looked like it in his last fight. Moreno, I think the winner of this fight is going to score very well. It's hard to see Moreno 8,500, Figgy 7,700, the winner, not finding his way on the optimal lineup. Because in the first fight, it was a draw. I think with a Figgy win, he would have scored around 98. And then Moreno, I believe, in his last fight, scored around 98, 99. So I think the winner is going to score, well in the 90s, maybe the hundreds, and find the optimal lineup. So, Brandon Moreno is definitely a core play of mine, but I'm not going to completely count out Figgy here. Francis Ngannou, 7,800. Again, this is a guy that I really like as a dog here. He's going to go out there. He's going to, throw big shots. And, Ciryl Gane has not fought anybody like Francis Ngannou. I know he's fought hard hitters like a Derek Lewis, like a Rosenstruck, but Ngannou, if he hits you clean, you're going out. This is a guy in Ngannou that he lands a knockdown on 4% of every significant strike he throws, which is crazy. It's crazy. And it would not shock me if he did knock out Ciryl Gane. I don't think anybody would be shocked if that happened. So, Ngannou makes for a very intriguing dog play, 7,800. I will have my fair share of him. And then other core play, Jack Della Maddalena. I think this fight finishes. I think this fight finishes under 1.5. I think this fight probably finishes in the first round. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. I like Jack Della Maddalena. I will have some Pete Rodriguez as well, but I do think Jack's going to get it done here. Probably by knockout, maybe submission. He has a brown belt in BJJ, and Rodriguez does not look like he has a great ground game, but we'll see what happens there. I think Jack does finish him very early, though. All right, GPP plays, tournament plays, and there's actually a lot other options. I'll mention a couple other ones that I just missed on here, but I picked my favorite four. Jaime Barcelos 9,300. So when Jaime Barcelos wins, he's actually scoring very well in those wins, and this is a guy that is very well rounded. Very good striking, very good wrestling. He's a black belt in BJJ, and his opponent Victor Henry. This guy's good. I like Victor Henry a lot. It's just I think that Barcelos is just another level above him. I think that Barcelos can outstrike him on the feet. I think Barcelos, an easy path to victory, would be taking down Henry. And I don't know if he finishes Henry. Potentially could, but Henry is very tough, never been finished. But, Henry's never fought somebody like Barcelos. But I just think Barcelos is probably one of the safer plays on the slate. Maybe he doesn't have the highest ceiling on the slate. There are other guys I do like in terms of a ceiling, like a Gravely we'll talk about, like a Taporia, but I just feel really safe with Barcelos in this matchup. Cyril Gane, 8,400. Yeah, I talked about it a little bit. I'm a little bit iffy on it because, it is 5 rounds. He does throw high volume. The volume might go down a little bit or maybe a lot against Ngannou here like it does for most of Ngannou's opponents. Because you take a look at Ngannou is only absorbing 2.04 significant strikes, so that kind of scares me. But it's 5 rounds, it's heavyweight. Ngannou's gas tank's not great. Maybe Gane can get him out of there late, but if not, I really do have some concerns about Cyril Gane and the ownership. It's very high, and if he can make the optimal lineup or not. So I have a decent amount of Gane. I actually have more Ngannou than I do have Gane, and I'm a little underweight to Gane as well. But I'm not going to completely fade the guy. It's the main event, 5 rounds, heavyweight. I will have some Gane, but I'm a little bit iffy on it. And speaking of iffy, Rodolfo Vieira, 9,200. I'm just playing some of them just in case he comes out there and gets that first round submission. I personally don't think so, but if he does go out there and he does get a first round submission or even a second round submission, I don't want to miss out on it. So you got to have Rodolfo Vieira in your lineups. He has a 100% finish rate. He is probably the much better fighter. It's just his cardio is really, really bad. So we'll see what happens, but Rodolfo Vieira, I do like him as a tournament play, would not go there in cash. And then Tony Gravely, a guy that I think is going to get very overlooked this week. His ownership, according to my projections, is a lot lower, and that's just because you have so many good options up here, right? You have Barcelos, you have Taporia, you have Vieira, so on and so forth. So not a lot of people are getting to Gravely this week, and Gravely, I think he lands like almost 5 takedowns per 15 minutes. I think he's going to be able to get takedowns whenever he wants here against Simon Oliveira, and on top of that, this guy hits very, very hard, and Simon Oliveira, I don't like his striking defense. I think Tony Gravely has a good opportunity to either A, out-wrestle Simon Oliveira for 3 rounds, putting up a big score, or B, finish Oliveira. I mean, we've seen how hard Tony Gravely can hit. So yeah, I like Oliveira. I like Gravely. I like Gravely quite a bit at 8,900 for a tournament play. The reason I would not really, cash is fine, but the reason I would not feel completely safe with Gravely is the fact that the dude's been finished like 6 times, and 5 of those are coming by submission, and Simon Oliveira is a very good finisher. So that's my only concern, but I think if Gravely wins, it's a big score. Live dogs, Cody Stamann, 7,600. I think this guy's going to be very popular, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a close fight against Nurmagomedov, and I think Cody Stamann can make this very close, very competitive, mixing in the takedowns. So he has takedown upside, control time upside. I don't see him finishing Nurmagomedov, but I could see him winning a wrestling-based decision. So I don't hate it. I don't feel like overly confident about it, but there aren't many dogs that I do like, but Cody Stamann is one of them. Davison Figueiredo, 7,700. I like him as a dog. I think I do have more exposure to the Moreno side. But yeah, Figgy, if he does show up, if he looks good at weigh-ins, if he is, if we are getting the best version of Figgy, I think he's very capable of winning this fight. I think he's very capable of putting up a big score. I don't think he can finish Moreno, but I do see, it could play out like the first fight where it's a very close fight, and maybe Figueiredo does edge it. And like I said earlier, in the draw in their first fight, Figgy scored like 68 DraftKings points, with the win, it would have been 98. So I don't hate some Figgy as far as the dog goes. Genaro Valdez, 7,500, another guy I think is going to be pretty popular. 100% finish rate, hits hard, wrestling, and Frevola is extremely, extremely, extremely chinny. I am personally picking Valdez to knock out Frevola at some point. He is very unproven. He has not fought great competition. I get why Frevola is the favorite, but again, Frevola is very chinny, and Valdez does hit really hard. So chasing that wrestling and knockout upside with Valdez there at 7,500. Wellington Turman, it's just in case, it all depends on the game plan of Vieira, like I said. If Vieira comes out, balls to the wall like he did in the Fluffy fight, gasses out, Turman's a capable black belt, has more experience. He's won a decision before. Turman at 7,200 is not the worst live dog in the world. Other tournament plays, I forgot to mention. Other tournament plays that I don't hate is going to be Matt Frivola. I think that Matt Frivola fight's going to finish inside the distance, and I think if Matt Frivola does win, it's going to be a lot of takedowns, control, and a possible submission as well. I think Matt Frivola was the only... Oh, and Vanessa Demopoulos. So, in my article that I do for the website, for the Patreon, I usually do a low-owned dart throw, and Demopoulos is going to be my dart throw for this week. She's a finisher, a brown belt, and Juarez has been submitted before. I think if this fight hits the mat, Demopoulos has a good chance to find that finish there. So those were the other tournament plays I was looking at. I think there's a lot of them to look at this week. Back to the live dogs. Went through them: Stamen, Figueiredo, Valdez, and Turman. We'll go to our pump plays here, and there's actually a couple pump plays I actually do like this week. One being Andre Fialho, who is 7,100. The reason being, there's a couple reasons. I really like what I see from Fialho. This guy is dangerous. He's a finisher. He has like an 80-something% knockout rate. He hits very hard. The only problem with that is Michel Pereira is very tough. And Michel Pereira has only been knocked out one time in 37 fights. So that's a problem. On top of that, he's going to be at so many disadvantages. I actually give Michel Pereira the cardio advantage, believe it or not, the experience advantage, level of competition. Pereira's going to be faster. He's going to have a wrestling, a grappling, pretty much every single advantage outside of pure power. But Fialho's going to have opportunities to potentially knock out Pereira, and Pereira has dropped the ball against very questionable competition before. That DQ against Diego Sanchez, the fight against Tristan Connolly. He could drop the ball here again, and Fialho could put up a big score. So we'll see what happens, but Fialho's a pump play that I don't hate. And then Pete Rodriguez, 7,000. Not much tape on this guy, only 4 pro fights, but what I have seen is this guy hits like a truck. And Jack Della Maddalena is a little bit hittable. So a knockout from Pete Rodriguez here would not shock me. And believe it or not, Pete Rodriguez has one of the best inside the distance lines as a dog, and he's only 7K as well. I think his inside the distance is like plus 400, which for a dog, especially at 7K, is very, very good. Another pump play that I don't hate is Charles Jourdain, just because he has a really good finish rate, only 1 win by decision, and Topuria, again, has not really been tested that much, has not fought the best competition in the world, so Jourdain would be the other pump play I'd be looking at, and I think that's about it. So, fades, not a ton that I'd fade on this slate, but the lowest owned fighter I'm going to have is Said Nurmagomedov, and maybe he can knock out Stamen. I just think it's very unlikely. Stamen's very tough, very durable, and I think Stamen makes this a very close fight. Said Nurmagomedov, he's Nurmagomedov, but he's not going to go for takedowns. He's not going to get control time. He's going to want to stay on the outside, outpoint Cody Stamen for 3 rounds, and probably not put up a big score. So, fade, I'm going to pick Said Nurmagomedov. That is about it, guys. Went through everything there, the core plays, GBP plays, live dogs, pump plays, fades, all the good stuff. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well. Go check out either the Patreon or the website, dfsbythenumbers.com. The optimizer is already uploaded with the projections, the ownership projections as well. The rankings just came out as well. The article's coming out soon, all that good stuff. The lineup percentages are already out. Hopefully nothing really changes with weigh-ins and everything like that. Hopefully all the fights do stay on. But everything's uploaded, so go check it out, dfsbythenumbers.com, or you can check out the Patreon as well. So that's about it, guys. Good luck for UFC 270. Let's make some money. Let's get a takedown.